Hey everybody, KOBK coming at you again with another quick tip video guide. Just giving you guys some information here in regards to the use of Lord skills. The abilities that you get out of your Lord skill trees are really important, and you should be following down certain tiers of your tree to make sure you're the most beneficial you can be in attacks. You're going to be given a couple of different choices as you go down this as to whether or not you're going to be a archer heavy player, a mage heavy player, or whether or not you're in a position where you're trying to get resources or you're trying to maximize your recovery after a large hit. So, let's get into it. Infantry is where it's at. Cavalry are completely useless. Please do not put points in cavalry. You won't be sending them on normal attacks. The only times you'll ever be sending them are in positions when you are trying to stack up and take resources from an enemy player. Going down the tree, you're going to be given your first real choice as far as what kind of a player you want to be once you hit your first archer attack or mage attack choices. It's good to have a variance of players, who are going to be stacking archer attack versus mage attack. Mage attack is great for big static numbers, great for destroying backlines, whereas archer attacks are going to be mainly used for knocking out and toppling a front line, killing off all of the infantry, so on and so forth. So just kind of decide where you want to be and what kind of a player you want to be, and then accommodate to that. Because always remember, your typical build out for March compositions are going to be 10% in infantry. If you're a mage player, 50% mages, and 20% even tiered archers and 20% odd tiered archers. If you're an archer heavy player, you're going to be running pretty much the opposite. 10% infantry, 25% even tier and 25% odd tier of your archers, and then you're going to be running 40% on your mages. So make your decision, stick to that plan, don't deviate from that plan. You'll just be wasting points if you do that. Don't try to even it out. There's no such thing as a balanced player. The math just doesn't make sense. Now, once you get down further, again, you're going to be given more choices as far as infantry versus cavalry. Now, this is a toss-up. A lot of people say that getting the mage defense is important out of the first set of defensive tiers for mages because of the simple fact that your mages are your main source of damage for a lot of people. In my opinion, though, keeping your front line alive longer is what's going to be most beneficial to you in order to maximizing the damage output from your backline. So I highly suggest going down the infantry defense, grabbing that archer defense, and moving on down the tree. Once you get to your third tier, that's where you're going to get the 3 split. At the 3 split, again, remember, cavalry's useless. Infantry is where it's at. So if you're going down and you're not in a recovery mode, make sure you're stacking your infantry and grabbing that fast expansion as soon as you can. That is your first real big power boost in the war tree. It's going to be a 10% marching army increase for an hour. Now remember, you match up fast expansion and you stack that up with an army expansion buff, an item buff, then you're talking about a 30% army march increase for up to 8 hours. Obviously 20% for 8 hours, 10% for an hour. Really good for hitting those big targets early. And really great for matching up with things like SOS, which we'll talk about later. If you're in a recovery mode, though, and you've just suffered a big attack, going down the golem tree really isn't that bad of a deal, especially because of golem support. Saves you a lot of resources during recovery because of the fact that you're getting 200 free golems a day up until you max out. Obviously, I wouldn't stay down that tier for very long unless you're trying to do something silly like trapping, but trapping really doesn't exist in this game. So, obviously, when you get down to, after you get past the Marching Army 2, you're given another choice depending on what kind of a player you are as to whether or not you're going to stack archer or mage attacks. Remember, make your plan, don't deviate from it, either stack archers or stack mages. Don't try to mix it up. Once you get to Lord level 35, you're going to get the option to get a lovely little gem, which is called Battle SOS. In your first attack, after you've activated this skill, all of your killed soldiers will be converted to wounded soldiers instead, up until the hospital is full. So just be really wary of that. By the time you hit SOS, you should be sitting between level 26 and level 30 on your castle. So you're going to be able to push between 120 to 170,000 in your march size pretty easily at that point. So you need to make sure you've got the beds to cover that in case you lose, 85-90% of your army in an attack. If you exceed the amount that your hospital can carry, you will lose troops. Once you get down to the final tier, remember again, infantry over cavalry always. And then obviously pick up your last set of wounded capacity. The development tree is beneficial. I typically just go down far enough to get harvest. Every 12 hours I get 6 hours worth of my production right up front. It's a great boost. It gives you pretty much, between 2/3 to a full March worth of resources for each of the 4 resources every 12 hours. Really, really beneficial. Um, the rest of it is really going to be based upon your farming needs at the time. If you decide to go any further down harvest for any reason, just make sure you're at a point in downtime. You're not attacking with development, tiers. It just doesn't make sense. Again, it's not helpful to have all of your points in development if you're on an attack spree. The only times that you're going to be attacking in the development tree is when you get down to things like stamina recovery. You get it to instantly recover 50 points of stamina, really beneficial, matching that up with stamina recovery 1, and even further down stamina recovery 2. Very, very beneficial, again, for monster attack events and things like that, monster kill events. The other big parts, though, are mainly, again, for your farms, and the really important parts are going to be things like load increase 2, coming down and obviously getting the, food and wood production and gathering, hitting that gather speed. You start thinking about that, you're talking about 2 hours worth of 100% gather speed increase on top of a 50% buff, so you're talking about an additional 150% for 2 hours worth of gathering. So it can be very beneficial for that if you're in a pinch and you really need to get yourself, some quick resources. Everything again below that is going to be more, stone and iron production. But again, I don't go this far down the development tree, or very rarely I do. I've never even gone down far enough to get the gather speed boost. So, again, you should be in this tree very seldomly. But again, guys, like I said, this is just kind of a quick overview of what you should be using your Lord skills on. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope it answered some questions for you. If you do have any more detailed questions, I've done the math and breakdown on just about every one of these. So feel free to hit me up and for individual questions. I'm more than happy to go over theory crafting and the numbers that I've come up with. If you've got some better ideas for the way you should be stacking up and using your Lord skills, make sure to let me know. I'd love to hear your ideas and your thoughts and how you came up with your math. Thanks again, folks, and have a great rest of your night.